Okay, and we are live.
Oh,
Welcome to Love and
good
Money
one.
Secrets TV. Hi, Carol from Yelm, Washington. How are you doing over there?
I'm doing very well, thank you.
Is it a bright sunny day or are you a soggy doggy today?
No, it's a bright sunny day with a lot of wind. So,
A lot of wind. Okay, well, it is a bright sunny day here in California. It was on the chilly side, therefore that's why I was wearing my jacket. It was actually overcast most of the day until I'd say after 3 o'clock. Then
uh-huh.
the overcast the marine layer kind of like burned off, and now it's bright and sunny, a little bit warmer than it was earlier today, which is kind of nice for a change.
Yeah, it was a little cool today too, but at least there was sunshine.
So we both got the wear teal memo. So
Yeah.
blue coordination here. Oh, we've got a gal named Janice LaBouche. Let's see.
Oh, how wonderful.
Hello, Janice. How are you doing? Welcome to
Hi,
the show. How are you doing, Janice?
I'm fine. I'm sorry. I'm like got my pajamas on.
No, you're fine. We can't tell you
Oh,
your pajamas. You just look cozy.
you look cozy. I have my gardening clothes on. You have pajamas on, and Lillian's dressed ready to go. So we're good.
We
We're
all
all
got the blue color
we
memo. So
Yeah.
yeah.
we're vibing the
Yeah.
same. This is awesome. So Janice, do you have any question about the stem cell activation patches that I might be able to answer for you right now?
No, I use them. I love them.
You use them and you love them. Okay, well, fantastic. I love the fact that you use them and you love them. Since we're all already on the patches, we are actually, whenever we don't have people that show up for the info Q&A aspect of it, and if people have questions, and I always like to start off with the questions first, and then we go into the info Q&A. But if we don't have any new people that are checking out the patches, then what we do is we've been reviewing this book called the Mitochondiac Manifesto, which is by a guy named R.D. Lee, who he and I share the mentor, Dr. Jack Kruse, who is a neurosurgeon. He does brain surgery, neck and spine surgery. He wrote this incredible book. It's
What's
just coincidental that it says manifesto. It's totally caught my eye when one of my gals who's a director, Lisa Pettit, she told me, you got to read this book. It's called the Mitochondriac Manifesto. I said, did you say Mitochondriac Manifesto? She goes, yes, it's amazing. So I picked it up and I wrote, you can see over here, the Intuition Manifesto. So I was like, what are the chances that somebody would write a Mitochondriac Manifesto? I was immediately intrigued. And we're just on page 16. So we're going to talk about, of course, we're into all things, not only organic and holistic, but you may not know this, Janice, but Dr. Jack Kruse is a photobiomodulation expert. Huge.
Mm.
And he talks about the use of light and surgery and so forth. And so this guy was heavily influenced by Dr. Jack to write this book, because all of us who are mentored by him, he calls us mitochondriacs. And so he wrote the Mitochondriac Manifesto.
Cool.
So we're going to go ahead and we're going to read a little bit from here and kind of go over how this applies to our everyday lives, because there's action steps that we can take. So we are on page 16. And if you want, you can always go to Love and Money Secrets TV and you can watch the previous episodes. I have a playlist just for the Mitochondriac Manifesto. So without further ado, we're going to jump into this. And it says, how light creates life. Still highly amused by our little Fred Flintstone fellow over here
Yeah.
carrying the
Still
torch
there.
for light. And so let's see what it says here. And it says how light creates light. Now, for those of you who've been watching and listening to how we use stem cell activation patches, it's all about the light that's already inside our bodies. But we know that our master smart cells, our DNA is 92% water, and which is why DNA is such a great conductor of electricity, which is light, and only 8% is other. And of course, whenever you're looking at light, you also have light spectrum. You cannot separate the color from the actual light itself, which is the energy which emits heat. So now he's talking about how light creates life. We learned in biology class that the food chain begins with photosynthesis in plants. They never told us that human beings experience photosynthesis. For whatever reason, they weren't trained to think or to talk about it that way, but we actually do benefit from photosynthesis. So photosynthesis takes the sun's photonic energy and it combines it with carbon dioxide and water and converts them into chemical energy in the form of sugar. These sugars feed organisms up and down the food chain, from soil microbes below the plant to the plants themselves, to the animals that they feed on those plants, and so on and so on. It's a domino effect, a chain reaction, right? So most important to appreciate is photosynthesis turns into intangible energy, light, into chemical energy, sugar. That's right, photosynthesis turns light into tangible matter. The happy byproduct for animals being oxygen. And the big aha for inquisitive minds is when you eat food, you're eating condensed sunlight and you didn't even know it, which is why I say, because Dr. Jack says that when you eat food as in not man-made food, when it comes to God-made food, an apple that you eat from a tree, piece of lettuce, spinach, asparagus, corn, whatever it is, whatever vegetation that you're eating, you take that, and that's a light barcode because it received light from the sun and it turned it into that plant, which you're now eating, your environment. And that's a light barcode to transfer light from the sun into your body, which then as you chew it, it turns into particles, vitamins, minerals, amino acids, which are just simplified proteins, because proteins are made of long chains of amino acids and so forth and so forth. You break it down through chewing it, and then it turns back into light again, like the sun, in the form of infrared light, which is why when we scan you, and for example, when I show you during our info Q&As, you'll clearly see here, I'm going to show you guys how this spectrograph, it actually shows you how we are light beings from the inside of our bodies. Let me show you here real quickly and share my screen with you. So as here we go. So as I show you this picture right here, the reason why we have all this light inside of us is because of, again, our DNA, our stem cells, and the food that we're eating constantly is feeding this light source of energy, because we have 56 trillion cells in the human body. Of each one of those 56 trillion cells, every single one of those cells has electrons. The fluids in our body, like our blood, have electrolytes. Electrolytes and electrons are just packets of electricity. Our cerebral spinal fluid, our brain is swimming in a little bucket called a cranium, a scalp, right, of cerebral spinal fluid. And then we have that fluid that goes down our spinal column and back up again. Those fluids have electrolytes, just like our blood has electrolytes. Those are all packets of electricity. It's all light. Bear in mind, it's kind of like a recirculation if you think about it. We're a light body and we ingest light, and that light then goes into our body and it goes back out again into the environment. It's this constant recycling. Anytime you have a disruption of any part of that action, then of course that is dis-ease. Okay, so let's go back to our book, and it shows you here very clearly this cute little, you see here how it says plant photosynthesis, and then of course you see the sun over here, going down on the plants, especially this time of year when we're in the spring, right? And then the sun creates light on this plant. This plant is able to then, through photosynthesis, it slows down the wavelengths of light so that it can create nutrients that it can then come into it. It can come down into its root system. The root system can also pull from the nutrients from the earth and bring it back up in order to create whatever fruits or vegetables it is that that plant is giving, or in this case, to nourish this flower so that it'll sustain that flower. So that flower then continues to go upwards, seeking more sunlight. And then the roots keep going deeper to continue that cycle moving forward. So it says here, but the lesson public schools don't teach us till later is that our mitochondria do the same process in reverse. They take food, sugar, and fats and oxygen and turn them back into CO2 and water. The happy products are ATP and light, much in the form of infrared heat. That's why when you touch yourself, you're like 98.6 degrees, 98.7 degrees Fahrenheit. That's why we're warm, because we are light bodies. Also neat to know, food electrons carry energy and information from the sun, which are released as those electrons hop along the electron transport chain. That's right. Think of a chain link fence, and that's kind of like a network of light that's being transported throughout our bodies. So you see, nature wastes nothing. Plants and animals form opposite ends of an interdependent coupled system where one organism's trash, waste, is the other one's treasure, sustenance. So if you think about it, we need oxygen, right? So for us, we need to inhale oxygen, but the plants, they need carbon dioxide, which is what we exhale. So as we exhale carbon dioxide, it gives us oxygen and we give it carbon dioxide. And it's the symbiotic, it's a mutually beneficial relationship between plants and animals, plants and mammals. Okay, so now we're going to talk about our Mr. Smarty Pants here, Albert Einstein. So let's see what Al has to say here. And he's talking about the photoelectric effect. And it says here in 1922, Albert Einstein won his only, that's amazing if you think about it, he only won one Nobel Prize. But nonetheless, that's pretty incredible to even win one, because when you win the Nobel Prize, you literally receive $1 million that can go then towards your research, which is extraordinary. So he won his only Nobel Prize for his work in describing the photoelectric effect. The photoelectric effect explains how light makes certain materials emit electrons. I want people to pay close attention to that. The photoelectric effect explains how light makes certain materials emit electrons. By inference, this tells us that light, photons, can only interact with one subatomic particle, electrons, and not with protons, neutrons, or any other particles. It's a foundational phenomena of physics that comes into play whenever and wherever light needs to be captured, transported, and used. And it's another reason electrons are so important to health and healing. They capture and deliver, so they're receiving and giving light. On a subatomic level, the photoelectric effect tells us that when light hits an electron, it makes it spin in certain ways. So think about that. So as soon as the sunlight hits an electron inside or outside of our body, it makes it spin in a particular direction. So that's, as it makes it spin in a certain direction, makes it spin more, that means it's going to increase the light, it's going to increase the energy. Based on the frequencies of light absorbed, visible infrared light or UV, ultraviolet light, and their intensity, electrons retain the spin until mitochondria reverse the process by turning food into ATP through cellular respiration. So it's telling you that your cells are actually breathing. It's inhaling that light, inhaling that energy. Mitochondria convert those spin states back into forms of light that our cells can use. That what's more, those spin states give our mitochondria information about the environment that food was grown in, which the body uses to control metabolism and infraradian rhythms. So in other words, light programs the electrons. I'm going to say that again. Light the light from the sun, light programs the electrons in a plant's tissue cells with spin. In living systems, mitochondria later decipher and convert those spin states back into a variety of frequencies of light, but mostly infrared and ultraviolet light. For what purpose? The reconstituted light, which is basically recycled light, energizes respiratory proteins in our bodies. Collagens are made up of proteins, right? And it builds exclusion zone water, or E zones, as he calls it, which cells use to power their processes. It's, again, all increasing energy. By extension, the photoelectric effect that also explains why many plants struggle to live outside their native light environment, while most animals can live anywhere that temperature and food permit. The difference lies in the number of electrons carried in the core of their most basic compounds. Chlorophyll, which fuels photosynthesis in plants, looks almost the same as the hemoglobin that transports oxygen in animals, including us as humans. The biggest difference is that the chlorophyll molecule has a magnesium atom at its core, while hemoglobin is built around an iron atom. Magnesium, being lighter, has 12 electrons that can absorb light, while iron, being heavier, has 26. See the molecular structures of chlorophyll and hemoglobin on page 208. Starting to get a little bit more technical. For people who are super neuro nerds like myself, we can kind of dig this stuff. But it kind of shows you how magnesium here, you have iron. It has a lot more electrons. It has 26 as opposed to our other little friend here, magnesium, which everyone's familiar with magnesium because and iron too, for that matter, because you have foods that are rich in iron, like liver, for example, very rich in iron. Magnesium, well, we know that when we take calcium and magnesium as a supplement and we take it together, your body can actually absorb the calcium when it's paired with magnesium. It's really difficult for the body to absorb calcium, just pure calcium. But if you pair it with calcium and magnesium, then it goes in, because magnesium is an electrolyte. That's right. So it has a magnetic pull, which is what pulls it into your bones. Without it, it kind of floats around and it doesn't get absorbed. Magnesium.
I never knew that. That's interesting. Thanks.
Yeah, thank you. That's a good point.
That's why you don't want to just take a calcium supplement. You want to make sure it's a calcium magnesium supplement so that then it's absorbed into your bones, in the cells of the body that then goes into the bones. Yeah, it's an electrolyte, so it transports it and it's kind of like magnetized in.
Oh.
Yeah. So here we go. And then of course, magnesium, Epsom salts, the easiest way, not everybody's digestive system is balanced, and the microbiome and the probiotics and the prebiotics, the hydrochloric acid. Some people have gastrointestinal problems. So you're limited as to what you can take orally that will actually benefit the body, whether it's a supplement, whether it's food, whether it's an over-the-counter or prescribed drug. But when it comes to your skin is always breathing. It's inhaling and exhaling, whether you're conscious of it or not. It's part of your detox system. So that's why I love suggesting to people, you know what? Make it as part of your daily, not daily routine, but part of your regular routine several times a month, once a week, 2 or 3 times a month, 4 times a month, depending on what your circumstances are and what things you have going on with your body. It's always great to do an Epsom salt bath, because with Epsom salt, that's magnesium sulfate. Again, you've got magnesium. Sulfate, we have a lot of sulfur and sulfites and sulfates in the body. So now that's an electrolyte that your body will absorb through the skin. Doesn't have to go through your digestive system. It goes into the largest organ of the body, which is the skin. Don't get your hair in it. I made that mistake when I first started using Epsom salts back when in my 30s. And oh my gosh, my hair turned into straw. It was horrible. And I'm like, what's wrong with my hair? I could not. Oh, it was terrible. And then I learned, it's because you're not supposed to, when you're doing an Epsom salt bath, you're not supposed to let your hair touch the Epsom salt, because there's salt, which is going to pull all the moisture out of your hair. Not so good. But the Epsom salt, which is magnesium sulfate, will be absorbed through your skin in the perfect amount. at the same time, it also detoxes you. So it does both and, which is why it's so awesome if you work out more than normal, if you go, maybe you don't normally ski. And like when I used to go out skiing with my kids and with my husband, we would go to Utah, we'd go to Sundance or Snow Valley or Snowbird or any one of those places. And we're not used to skiing 6, 7, 8 hours a day. So needless to say, you're going to have sore muscles unless you do something to offset it. So what we would always do is we would always get into a jacuzzi because where we were staying always had a jacuzzi. So we would get into a jacuzzi to relax the muscles, help that lactic acid buildup that's pooling on top of all the muscles. And then you get into a bathtub that has Epsom salts for like 30 minutes. Guess what? The next day you have no sore muscles because you detoxed it through your skin and also put magnesium that was depleted from so many hours of exercise that you're not used to. And so then the next day, back, instead of kind of being like, oh, I'm so sore from all the, skiing from the prior day, we were all fine and dandy, just back on the slopes again. It was pretty cool. And for those, go ahead.
Oh, go ahead. Finish your story.
Yeah. So I was just going to say, for those who don't know that, then you can tell the ones who only go skiing once a season, because they're like, oh, I can't ski as much. So sore from yesterday. And I'm like, here's an easy fix.
Well, is there a difference between Epsom salts and magnesium flakes?
I've never used magnesium flakes, but if you throw those in the water, they can't be bad for you because it's just electrolytes. And so your skin will absorb them.
Yeah, I didn't know if there was a benefit to that more so than Epsom salts or not. So
yeah, magnesium sulfate in the medical setting, we use magnesium sulfate a lot. Not necessarily always in the powdered form that you get from this, CVS or Rite Aid or Costco or whatever store, Whole Foods, Sprouts or whatnot. But we also use IVs of magnesium sulfate, especially for women who are in preterm labor, to help relax and smooth out the muscles so that they stop contracting. And so it's a very effective magnesium sulfate. It's something that's very well tolerated, for the body. Yeah.
Interesting. I know you mentioned building up of lactic acid, and I remember hearing David Schmidt talk about on one of his calls recently about baking soda stopping lactic acid. And when I do Epsom salts bath, I always put like a cup of baking soda with it.
Yeah, I always do 2 cups of Epsom, 2 cups of baking soda.
Yeah.
And then not all the time, but oftentimes I'll do, if I do like a full detox bath, I'll also do 2 cups of boron and then 2 cups of Himalayan salt. And that's a pretty awesome detox bath.
What is boron?
Boron, that's a naturally occurring mineral. It's if you look at the periodic table of elements, boron is a naturally occurring element. We actually have one of the largest boron mines in the world. It just so happens to be here in California. But you can get boron. People use it as a laundry booster. They don't realize that it's actually a naturally occurring.
Okay, that's where I've heard it from then. Yeah.
Yeah,
interesting.
But like in the laundry section, you'll see BORON.
Yeah.
You just get boron, and it's a great laundry booster. It helps, especially if you have hard water wherever we have really hard water in Southern California. So we'll use things like baking soda. I put baking soda in my wash, like anytime I wash my clothes, because I don't want my colors to fade, and I want, better treatment of my clothes. So I always throw baking soda, a couple cups of baking soda, and a cup of boron as a laundry booster, and that helps a lot. And it also helps save your machine so that your machine doesn't break down as easily, because otherwise you have inside the tubings of the washer, you'll have an accumulation of limestone and hard mineral deposits and so forth. This kind of smooths it out so that it makes the water softer, so then it just passes through and it doesn't stick to your clothes either.
Very interesting. I'll have to try that. Thanks.
Yeah. Little things that, everything is kind of makes sense once you start to learn more about these things. But baking soda, I love soda doping. Carol knows I talk about soda doping quite a bit. There's no need for any human being to ever experience hangovers or things like that. You can have your cake and eat it too, because your body is chemistry. It's always trying to balance. So rather than forcing your kidney and your kidneys and your liver to balance, anytime you have alcohol, when you get home, just have 10 ounces of water, room temperature, add half a teaspoon of organic baking soda, stir it. When it's clear, you just keep stirring. And as soon as it's no longer milky and it becomes clear, now it's ready for you to drink it. Now you drink that. And guess what? Because it's sodium bicarbonate, that's one sodium molecule for 2 carbons. The carbon molecules will bind to the toxins in the alcohol. And then you'll pee and poop it out so that you won't have, the only reason why you have a hangover is because your body is struggling to balance and it's pulling water from the brain, which is going to give you a headache. And it's trying to balance your body at all expense. And now you've given it the extra carbon that it needs. And so now it'll bind to the carbon and then you'll pee and poop it out and you won't have a hangover. At the same time, you'll alkalize your body because alcohol, from a chemistry standpoint, the formula is ROH, but ROH turns into sugar. Well, the baking soda, because it's 1 sodium for 2 carbon, it will cancel out the sugar. So it alkalizes you so that you don't have that high level of acidity in your body. So you don't have inflammation from the sugar. So now you've just neutralized it. And so now your body's happy because it doesn't have to do that extra work. And then.
Interesting. So I was doing actually some baking soda in water every day. And then because I was reading about it or heard about it, and then I stopped because I wasn't sure if it's good or should I keep doing it or not.
So it is good. It is good, but I don't do it every day myself. Just like everything else, because everything is chemistry. So it also depends on what it is that you're eating. So let's say if you, especially during the holidays, like during the holidays, I do tend to have, I do the soda doping more often because I don't normally eat cake and cookies.
The sugar.
I'm not eating tiramisu. I'm not eating, you know, all the different desserts that we have during the holidays, pumpkin pie, you know, pumpkin pie a la mode, you know, goes funnel cakes. Oh my gosh, do I eat a lot of for the 6 weeks, you know, from Thanksgiving to, you know, Epiphany. So it's a lot of sugar. That's a lot of acidity for your body. So rather than put my body through that, and I don't want to, you know, life is not a dress rehearsal. I don't want to not eat that. So I eat it and then I come home and then I do the soda doping. If I don't want to do the soda doping for whatever reason, it doesn't have to be this big logistical intellectual decision. I'm like, you know, I don't feel like soda doping. I don't feel like drinking. I've had my fill of water. I'll continue to drink my clear water and I'll have 2 activated. We talked about this earlier, the organic activated charcoal pills. Take 1 or 2 of those. Again, it has carbon. It's going to bind to anything that's not benefiting the body, any of the toxins, any of the acids that are coming from the sugars from whatever stuff I ate that's not really that great for me, that doesn't have a nutritional benefit. The carbon will bind to that. And then you just pee and poop it out. End of story.
Interesting.
So you can do a combination of, because bear in mind, as long as you're healthy, the sodium isn't going to hurt you. But for people who, you know, not all sodium is created equal. So like if you're having Celtic salt, that's good salt. It's good sodium. It's minerals that are benefiting the body. If people are having the blue container with the little girl and the umbrella, that
no.
Yeah, that's poison. That doesn't have any iodine. That doesn't have any minerals in it.
No, don't have any. I use it on my weeds. That's it.
Yeah. And it's great to kill also snails that are attacking your plants and stuff. But that stuff is not good. That will increase your blood pressure. The Celtic salt is going to help modulate.
Yeah, that's all I use.
So as long, again, it's just paying attention to, you have to be mindful about what it is that you're eating. And again, you know, you're not going to want to do soda doping every day, but we've known for 50, 60 years, maybe even longer, athletes have been using soda doping to increase their energy, to boost their performance, because as it alkalizes your body, you have more oxygen in your body, which gives you more energy. So you can actually boost your performance.
That's what David was talking about. Yeah.
Yeah,
That
we've
was
known,
very interesting.
yeah,
My husband used to drink a lot of coffee, and as the years went by, and I me started adding things to it. It's called baking soda. Just a little bit of baking soda, and the taste was still the same and good, but it became alkaline instead of acid. So he could continue. And that was when he became ill. He was ill. And so I changed everything around for him. So he could continue having the good things that he liked, but
yeah,
they had to be alkaline.
yeah, you had to alkalize it. Yeah,
Yeah. And it worked. It worked really well.
yeah.
I
Yeah,
tested it.
so once you know, you can start to balance these things because I could live the rest of my life and never have another cookie, never have ice cream. I can't imagine not ever having it. That's just like why be, we came to this earth plane with physical bodies. You have to have a body to be able to have a piece of chocolate and enjoy it, to lick an ice cream cone. Spirits can't do that, right? And so it's like to deny myself, I'm like, no, but in moderation. And when it's not so much in moderation, which I usually in moderation, but there are times a year, I definitely don't do that in moderation during the holidays. There's just no, and I don't have any guilt about, I go, no, because, I'm fairly healthy. I pay attention to how I'm eating and what I'm exposing my body to through chewing, drinking, inhaling, absorbing through my skin, et cetera, et cetera. So then I'm like, yeah, I can afford the luxury of having tiramisu or like last Friday, I think I told Carol, I went to 31 Flavors. I hadn't been to 31 Flavors
Yeah.
before the pandemic. And now I have a long history with 31 Flavors. This habit started when I was a child. My mother used to pick us up from school every day at 3:30 as I was growing up. But on Fridays, my father would pick us up. And so on Fridays, he would pick us up, and it was always the same thing. He was like, okay, show me your papers and everything. And we'd show him whatever our homework, grades were and our quizzes and our tests. And he's like, okay, you have to promise you're going to eat all of your dinner and promise you're not going to tell your mother that I took 31 Flavors. And if we promised that we would eat all of our dinner and that we wouldn't tell my mother, then of course he took us to 31 Flavors. And I always got a chocolate chip ice cream cone. My brother got whatever he got. And then we would go home and all that. So guess what? When I had my kids, what do you think I did once a week?
Yep.
Picked them up all 5 days of the week. And you better bet your bottom dollar once a week. The whole staff, the owner of 31 Flavors knew us, all their birthday parties, every single birthday party, we always ordered ice cream cakes. That was just the thing to do. So interestingly enough, a lot of things stopped during the pandemic. So obviously one of the things that I stopped was I stopped going to 31 Flavors. And I finally just went last Friday. And when I popped by, one of the gals, I recognized her and I'm like, Noelle. I'm like, oh my gosh, you're still here. And she goes, oh my gosh, I haven't seen you in years. She goes, where are your kids? I'm like, they're all grown up.
Is 30
Yeah, so that was pretty cool. And then I said, yeah, I go, give me a double scoop chocolate chip ice cream on a sugar cone. She goes, I thought you were going to order that. I'm like, yeah, don't you know it? You know me well, because that's my favorite ice cream. There are others that I'd sometimes order, but that's my favorite. Later that evening, when I got home, as soon as I finished that thing, then I just did my soda doping.
Yeah.
And it's something that anybody can do. You're being mindful about balancing your chemistry instead of forcing your kidneys and your liver and your brain really does not. Your brain doesn't like sugar, but it runs on sugar, which is kind of ironic. Like for patients who are in the hospital and we have to keep them where they have to be fasting because they have to be ready to go into surgery. We have to limit obviously the amount of water because of general anesthetics and all sorts of other things that happen in your digestive system. But we do give them IVs that have sugar in them even though it's not the best thing for the brain, but for the overall, just to keep the body moving forward and going, you have to have a certain amount of sugar. And so, yeah, it's interesting. But for memory, if you check out, I did a documentary called Quiet Explosions Healing the Brain, and it's about traumatic brain injuries. And I worked on the segment with Dr. Daniel Amen. And one of the things he talks about, he's preaching and teaching from the mountaintop 24/7 all the time. He goes, the worst thing you can do for the brain is sugar. Like no sugary drinks, definitely no refined sugar. He would not be too happy if I told him I had a double decker. Like I had a double scoop at 31 flavors on the sugar cone. I could have had it in a cart, you know, a little carton cup. Nope, I wanted the sugar cone too. I'm going to go all out and I'll just balance my chemistry because everything is chemistry. And as long as you drink enough water, you know, you're going to detox it, right? So I just did that.
Sugar is so hard. Sugar is an addiction I have for sure. I mean, it's not, hold on just a second. My cat's getting in something. It's just like after I eat, I want something sweet. You know, it's just terrible.
And
So
so
hard.
It is. And, you know, so the thing is, it's like, that's something that it used to be a much bigger deal for me because believe me, I used to indulge in Twix bars and Snicker bars, loved Twix bars, would buy a family pack of Twix bars, Snicker bars, also would love that. But I learned to switch out back in 2018. I did a health reset and I went to the Channel Islands here in Ventura off the coast of California. And during that 3-day weekend, I was able for the first time, instead of just cutting sugar cold turkey and then just out of sheer will, staying away from sugar for like a year or two, and then something happens, you fall off the bandwagon and you're back to eating all the sugar that you did before. I was able to convert fairly easily. And I do have a video on my channel that talks about how you can get off of sugar pretty easily. And it's just, you still get the sweetness, but the type of sugar, instead of it being refined sugar, I switched to organic maple syrup. Grade, it used to be grade A, but now it's grade B. That is, you know, good for you. And what I learned was that when you switch over to organic grade B maple syrup, first of all, it is rich in amino acids. Amino acids are building block proteins for the body. So your body loves the amino acids that it gets from maple syrup. Number two, it has a low glycemic index. And number three, you get vitamin B from maple syrup. So you're getting nutrition, and then your brain, your tongue is sensing the sweet taste. So that's satisfying. Your brain is going, oh, yes, sweet. This is, but it's not refined sugar. And so it's like, oh, there's actually nutrients here. There's vitamin B, there's amino acids. We can use, this is actually nutrition that we can actually use, which is why you also don't have any of the crashing because it's a low glycemic index. So even people who are diabetics can have the maple syrup. Now, your brain is very interesting because if you do like, I don't know, like whatever, like NutraSweet or some of the other artificial sweeteners, where you have 0 calories or you have 1 calorie, your brain, as soon as you taste the sweet taste, your brain goes, sugar, it's sweet, it's supposed to have X amount of calories. And all of a sudden, when it sees that there's 1 calorie or 0, all of a sudden your metabolism stops. And your metabolism all of a sudden goes, wait. There's something that's not right here. When you get sweet, you get sugar, you're supposed to have a certain amount of calories that are coming in. There's a certain amount of nutrition that's supposed to coming in. We're getting shortchanged here. We're getting the signal of sugar, but there's like 0 calories. So then it stops your metabolism. So now instead of your metabolism moving forward and you're like going, oh, I'm not taking any calories in, I'm actually helping my body. Your body's like, no, you're cheating. You're shortchanging us. You're giving us sugar, but you're not giving us the goods. So we got to slow your metabolism down, which is why I used to tell like my friends in high school and in college, it's like, stop drinking the 0 calories Coke, the 0 Pepsi, anything with the word diet, fat-free, low-fat, sugar-free, all that stuff, because it all has man-made garbage that doesn't have any nutrition, all the olein, and I mean, the list is endless.
Oh, yeah.
Your body's going at a cellular level is going, oh, wait a minute. we can't reconcile what we think we're getting and what we're actually getting don't match up. So then that's why they're on a perpetual going from diet to diet to diet to diet to diet to diet. And I tell them the clue is in the word diet. You have the word die. I don't want to die. I want to live. So you don't want to be on a diet. You want to eat in a healthy manner that sustains your life. Then you never have to be on a diet because you're always being mindful about what you eat. You enjoy what you eat. You're not even really cheating. You're just enjoying eating the things that everybody should be eating without having to deny yourself and torture, all that kind of stuff. When you start to kind of view things from that perspective, understanding that your body is it's all chemical. Everything is chemistry, inside, outside, even the type of fabrics that my skin is coming in contact, cottons and wools and so that's much better, obviously, than petro-based material and so forth. But it all has to do with that whole story of light, because we're infrared light beings, and it's all connected. So once you kind of start to understand that, which is part of what Dr. Jack is always talking about for the last 20 years. 20 years ago, they thought he was nuts, and he just kept on preaching and teaching. And now he's got millions of people who are going, oh my gosh. It's like, wait a minute. They didn't teach any of this stuff in medical school. It's like, wait a minute. Like a group of ophthalmologists are going, wait a minute. They did not teach us. They didn't explain to us the reason why the nerve in the back of the eye, that optical nerve, the reason why it's upside down is it goes back to, like, everybody's heard about Einstein, which we just read about Einstein here, and the only Nobel Prize that he won, right? And they didn't give you the application that the reason why E equals MC square is that, wait a minute, the sunlight, those are wavelengths of light. We all know that things travel at the speed of light, so that the sunlight travels at the speed of light as it hits us, right? The reason why that optic nerve in the back of your eye, it's upside down, is that it has to slow down the wave of light so that when it goes through your eye, which is a circadian rhythm clock, it's an oscillating. Everything inside, nothing is stagnant in our body. Everything is oscillating like this, little circles, the figure eights, right? So as that light band hits through our eye, it has to slow down because that nerve is upside down to project an image into our eye. And the particles that turn, the light bands that turn into particles then can turn into vitamin D that then can be absorbed through the optic nerve into the bloodstream, through your veins, through your tissue, and so forth. And that's how you can get UVA light, which turns into vitamin A, and you can get UVB light, which turns into the vitamin D1, 2, and 3, etc. So it can turn it into particles, because when you slow down the waves of light, they turn into mass. A particle is a piece of mass, but nobody ever explains it that way. Until Dr. Jack came along. And then Dr. Jack also had the help of Doug Wallace, who he's another one he's the original mitochondriac, because he's the one who figured out, oh, wow, wait a minute. We inherit all of our mitochondria from our mother. We don't get anything from our father. The reason why we have DNA tests and we have the accuracy of the DNA tests is because of the research and the findings that Dr. Doug Wallace discovered. He's a guy who works at Children's Hospital on the East Coast. And so Dr. Jack started putting all the pieces of the puzzle together. And I think he spent something like $9,000 photocopying all sorts of books that were conveniently left out of medical school when like the year before, like all those research papers, a lot of that documentation, he graduated in 92. And so in 91, if you look at a lot of those research papers that are still available, but they're kind of a little bit more hidden now, and they're definitely not brought to medical schools, you start to connect those dots together, then you're like, oh, wait a minute, the clues are everywhere. Why are they? Everything becomes more clear. And this guy's attempt is to, bring this to light, to language it in such a way so that we can apply it as well. Like Dr. Jack, that's his, it's part of my mission as well too, is like, okay, yes, I want to get people on these stem cell activation patches, because there isn't anyone who is so special that's not going to benefit from activating their stem cells. That's a bottom line fact and truth. Any mammal on the planet, you know, we have more toxins on the planet than ever before. So we have a greater need to detox. And so when
Yeah.
you have more of your original blueprint on, you can better defend yourself than not having that, you know, as a, I wouldn't even say as a defense mechanism. It's more as a value add, right?
Mhm.
Mhm.
How big is that book? Is it a thick book?
It's not that thick. It's a little bigger, but it's about, let's see, 304 pages.
Okay.
So it's
Oh,
not
okay.
big. So I don't know if we're going to get through the entire book, but we've been just going a few pages and sections at a time and just kind of breaking it down because it does go very much hand in hand with what we are living, breathing, doing with photobiomodulation and activating your master smart cells with the cell activation patches. And I really believe that as people can understand and ascribe a meaning to what it is that they're doing when they put the patches on, and understanding why water is such a big deal. You know, most people running around there, they know, yeah, water's kind of important. I'm like, well, did you know that at 2% dehydration, your proteins fold as soon as you get dehydrated? They're like, oh, so what? Oh, wait a minute. If your proteins are folding, your brain's shrinking. There's all sorts of things in your body that are shrinking, including your proteins. As soon as your proteins fold, that means there's something called the Krebs cycle, which nobody really needs to know about the Krebs cycle. But the bottom line is that you have processes in the body that start to fail because there's dysregulation. And that's the beginning of disease. So if you're constantly dehydrated, there's a lot of people that just drinking water, just drinking good quality water, you know, mountain spring water. If they were to just do that, a lot of the things that they have problems with would go away because they would hydrate their body, they would detox, they would help their DNA. Most people don't know their DNA is 92%. Like the primary thing that composes your DNA is water. 92% water, only 8% other. Kind of crazy.
Mhm.
And people who go, well, I just don't want to drink water because I don't want to be going to the bathroom all the time. I'm like,
Mhm.
you'd rather be getting prescriptions and going to the doctor and have your body fall apart to the point where you're going to be hooked up with tubes out of every. I go, that's insane. I'm like, an animal would never do that. Humans, we can override free will, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're going to get the water if they have to get out of the toilet, but they're going to keep hydrated, right? But humans were like, oh, I just don't want to pee. I only want to pee twice a day. I'm like, are you kidding me?
Mhm.
It's true. Yeah,
It's true.
it's
Very,
it's funny.
yeah.
So
Yeah.
anyhow, is there any other questions that you have, Janice, that maybe I can answer for you at this time? Great little book.
Um, I do have a question talking about water. I started drinking alkaline water because I don't have a, I was waiting for David Schmidt to come out with whatever he's coming out with. But in the meantime, I don't have a system in my house and I don't have a Berkey. And I was going to get a Berkey, and people are like, oh, don't get Berkey now, the Berkey, you know. Then there's another one that's kind of like a Berkey. And I was going to get one, and that I didn't get that. And then I looked at all kinds of other things. So in the meantime, drinking water out of the plastic bottles it bothers me. So I said, well, at least I'm going to drink alkaline water, but I don't know if that's beneficial or not, more so, or
Not
So
all the time.
yeah, not all the time. Alkaline water short term is okay. You do need to change it up. The best thing is mountain, like mineral, like mountain spring water.
Yeah.
Is obviously the best thing for you is mountain spring water, and alkaline water for short bouts of time is okay, but not long term.
No, no.
If you muscle test your body or if you sway test your body will actually tell you. And so, yeah, I would never suggest long term to do alkaline water. I know there's some people like, oh, Kangen water or this water or that water
yeah.
9.0 or 9.9. I'm like, you know what? Not based on what I know about chemistry.
Me too. I agree totally.
Good to know.
Yeah.
What kind do you drink? Oh, you drink mountain water. Do you drink it from the bottles or what?
I buy my water right now. I'm buying my water from Mother's Market, which is a small chain. It's a organic whole, like an organic family-owned store. There's like 10 of them in California. And so
Mhm.
I just go and I get 1 jug of reverse osmosis and then
Mhm.
one of alkaline water. And that's the water that I normally drink. And I kind of mix them half and half. But I don't do just straight alkaline water. And
Okay.
I always use Celtic salt. I always have a little ramekin.
Yeah, I pinch mine out every day, several times a day. That's
Yeah.
good. Hmm.
You just take a few crystals, put it on your tongue every time you drink water. That works really well. And then I use the Celtic salt, of course, for cooking,
Hmm.
which just tastes so much better than, the other
Yeah,
salt. Even better than Himalayan salt, I gotta say. I like it much more than Himalayan salt.
Yeah,
yeah, I switched too.
yeah.
And what water do you drink? What was your name? The other
Carol,
lady?
Carol.
Carol.
What I actually I'm on a well, so I have my own water, well
Oh,
water.
Nice.
Yeah, and but if I drink bottled water, my husband was excellent at muscle testing, and so he went through all of the waters and all of the stores to see what was the strongest, and Crystal Geyser turned out to be the strongest one. So I have that as a backup
okay.
for, and I have a lot of those on hand.
Good to know.
Well waters tend to be better because it
Yeah,
uses some of the rainwater and so forth. But yeah, I'm a big proponent, as you guys know, about muscle testing. I think that a sway testing is like definitely because your body will tell you what gives you energy, what
yes,
to go towards, and what to get away from. And if it's not giving you energy, then obviously don't do it, right? But and it's not that easy. Like I've looked and looked and looked for like, gosh, I wish I could find because I tried to see if I could get there's a company that's called Mountain Spring, which comes in green bottles,
Hmm.
water. And I wanted to see if I could get like a gallon size, but they don't have a gallon size. And I'm like, okay, I need to figure out a way where I can get Mountain Spring water like delivered to me or get a
Hmm.
source until because I know David in 2022 he had already created that invention which has to do with water, but it's not ready yet. He's still working on it, and we know that it's not going to come out in 2024 either. So
Hmm.
maybe by next year. He's also trying to get the cost down so that you can get a home unit, and that's going to be pretty amazing water. So in the meanwhile, I actually do program, which I have to do. People keep on asking me, it's like, how do you program water? How do you structure water? How do
Hmm.
you imprint
talk
water?
to it. You can even thinking to water, it makes it works. It's
Yeah.
talking to it. Water listens.
Yeah. Water listens, it responds to images, to pictures, to thoughts, to words, to prayer. In fact, I'm going to show you a water experiment because I have lots of water experiments that I do with 2 other researchers. Give me a second. I never did the word Yeshua, which is the Hebrew pronunciation of Jehovah or Jesus, right? So check out the structure of the water when I froze it with the word Yeshua on it. I think you'll be really interested.
Oh,
Interesting.
wow.
Yeah, this is all
Oh,
interesting.
that's so interesting to me.
Yeah. What
Wow.
water do you drink? Uh,
I'm drinking it from Costco, the alkaline water right now, but before I was just drinking their brand of water, in the
yeah,
plastic, or I
yes,
drink refrigerator.
alkaline. Yeah, alkaline water all day long isn't good because you can test yourself and you'll see that you'll get too alkaline. And during the day, you want to be more acid.
Yeah,
Interesting.
depending the time of day, yeah. Your body doesn't like it's again, it's like
There's,
within reason.
yeah, the balance.
So check out. So what I did was I took a rubber band because I didn't want to just do it in thought. I have a bunch of other smaller containers where I have all sorts of other different things. But this one, I just took a piece of paper. I wrote the word Yeshua because you could do this at home. I just wrote Yeshua.
Mm-hmm.
And you can see the vortex of how you have a toroidal energy, much
Mm-hmm.
like you do when you say love.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Oh,
Wow.
So
wow.
see how And you could see the little spindles here at the bottom. I
Yeah.
know because of the condensation, so. But see how you see the little spindles
Yeah. Yeah.
and how the energy is being pulled in like a vortex?
Yeah.
Isn't that not cool?
That is very cool. Very, very cool.
So, you can also, so I'll do an episode just on this. We're going here over an hour, but this is all the kind of stuff that I love to play with and investigate and do research on. You can also you could either take a symbol or you could take a picture, and you can hold a picture up to the water, and then the water will actually mimic the picture.
Yes. Yeah.
So I've got several symbols that so that's
Fantastic.
so for when I do private sessions with clients, I've used that energy vortex in water because I know that I can get the water to have that rotational spin, which is how our DNA is. So I had a gal who had neck surgery, and they left 2 of her titanium screws in the 2 discs. They had fashioned from a donor 2 of the discs in her neck and inserted them, and then they used titanium screws to screw that into her spine, into her neck. And then about a week after the surgery, she had pain and discomfort, and she could feel the screws. And when they did the x-ray, they're like, oh no, we're gonna have to do surgery again because the screws were not screwed in all the way. So we're gonna have to open you back up and screw it back in. And she was like, no, not neck surgery again. I said, and then when she called me up and told me, I'm like, oh my gosh, that sounds horrible. I go, you probably don't have to do surgery. I think I can pull those screws in. She goes, you can? I go, yeah, it's going to take about an hour and a half or 2. We'll have to program, imprint water. There's a few things you're going to have to do in preparation for it, but I'm pretty sure we can get it done. Sure enough, I programmed the water, and we used the water during her session. And a week later, she went back to the doctor. Like the same session, she no longer had any discomfort, any pain. She was like, fine. I said, okay, when you go back to your doctor, he'll x-ray you or PET scan you again or MRI you, and then they'll be able to confirm it. And sure enough, I think it was an MRI confirmed that the screws were no longer out.
My phone died.
Good.
Oh, your phone died.
Oh my gosh, I missed that.
Yeah, we'll do another. Yeah, it's a pretty cool formation.
Well, this is recorded on Facebook too, or on
on YouTube. Yeah. So if you go to
on YouTube.
DaneLillianWalker.com or go to Love and Money Secrets TV, this is live right now on YouTube. So you'll be able to watch the replay.
Okay, great. Because I was like, wow, that was so interesting. All of a sudden my phone just went black. I'm like, what?
Yeah. So I've had people asked about the imprinting of water, programming and structuring of water. So I'm going to show, it's very simple. And so Carol and I will do that episode probably in the next week. We'll probably pull that together.
And we do it to our well.
Very cool.
Change the water in the well. Yeah.
Yeah. You can. It doesn't matter the size of the water.
No.
Yeah. Cool things about water. So, yep.
Okay.
Fun world. And then you put a few patches on, and you're good to go.
Yep. I love our patches. I love my energy enhancer.
Yeah.
My fantastic 5. So Janice, it was so nice seeing you on here. Thank you for joining us today. We have, the 3 of us on here. It's nice to see your beautiful, radiant face. All 3 of us wearing glasses too.
Yeah. Where do you live, Janice?
I'm in Tampa, Florida.
You're in Tampa.
All right.
Awesome.
Nice. Well, we're all over the north of we're all over the planet here.
Yeah, I got a cousin that lives in Tampa. So all righty.
Oh, yeah. It's hot here now. Hot.
Is it? Oh, I'm wearing a jacket because it was actually kind of cold. It was like 60 something.
I'm jealous.
It's 62 degrees right now, and it's just dusk. It's just a little past.
That's perfect. Enjoy those temperatures.
Beautiful. Well, this is wonderful. I hope we see you again, Janice.
Yes,
Thank you. Yeah, I love your calls. I don't typically catch them live, so I saw 10 o'clock. I'm like, wow, yes, good. I can jump on.
Yeah. So thank you for joining. Thank you. And I'm glad
That's
you
fun.
were able
It's
to
fun. We
participate.
learned.
Yes,
Thank
yes.
you very much. It was nice talking with both of you.
All right. Kisses and hugs
All
to
right.
both of you. Ciao.